its proper form, something extraordinary happens. Biology remembers how to heal. The head of a silhouette. The truth about copper. Healing humanity through frequency, energy, and bioavailable copper. By Jarrett St. Amand, founder of BioCU1. That's Jarrett K. St. Amand, in case there's another one out there.
Okay, so I had the mic off when I was talking just a minute ago. Nothing's going the way it's supposed to go today. Maybe you say a prayer for me. Here goes the truth about copper. And hopefully, look, it's spinning now. Now it's spinning. Why would it be spinning? All I did was go back 5 seconds.
The failure of conventional. The head of a silhouette. The truth about copper. Healing humanity through frequency, energy, and bioavailable copper. By Jarrett St. Amand.
There you go.
Founder of BioCU1. That's Jarrett K. St. Amand, in case there's another one out there. This book is autographed. Mark, thank you for all your hard work in this copper world. Enjoy the book and learn all you can so we can spread the word. Your friend, Jarrett. All right, so that's what we're doing. We're spreading the word about the truth about copper. Healing humanity through frequency, energy, and bioavailable copper. All right, so this book is copyrighted 2026, Jarrett K. St. Amand, all rights reserved. So let's go right to the introduction, okay? Why copper? Why now? Copper is one of the oldest elements known to humanity and one of the most misunderstood. For thousands of years, copper has been used for tools, medicine, currency, and protection against disease. Important, yet often treated as a simple mineral trace, evaluated by quantity rather than form, function, or biological context. That oversimplification has led to confusion, misuse, and missed potential. This book exists to correct that misunderstanding. The truth about copper is not a claim copper is new. It is a clarification that copper's state, delivery, and interaction with living systems matter profoundly. When copper is handled incorrectly, it can contribute to imbalance. When delivered in its proper form, it functions as one of biology's most essential conductors of electrons, signals, and regenerative processes. This is not a memoir. It is a supplement guide, and it is not speculative wellness philosophy. All right? It is an examination of copper as chemistry, biology, and energy, working together rather than isolation. What this book is and is not. This book is written for readers seeking clarity beyond marketing, language practitioners and innovators, demanding mechanistic understanding, and anyone questioning why modern approaches to healing often ignore foundational elements. This book does not claim copper alone heals. Healing is always a system-level process. Copper's role is to remove interference, restore coherence, and allow biological intelligence to operate as designed. Throughout this work, copper is treated not as an additive, but as an enabler. How this book is organized. The chapters progress intentionally. Chapters 1 through 3 will establish copper's historical role, chemical states, and modern misuse. Chapters 4 through 6 explore copper as a conductor within physics, biology, and environmental systems. Chapters 7 through 9 examine chemistry, frequency, interaction, and ethical application. Chapters 10 through 12 address healing legacy and the future of copper-based understanding. Supporting appendices, sources, and references provide technical grounding for readers who wish to explore deeper. This book does not ask you to believe, it simply asks you to understand. And table of contents, we got all the chapters: origin of copper, discovery of copper, the truth about copper misuse, Tesla and the resonant field, the human conductor, healing the earth with BioCU1, the chemistry of healing, frequency, medicine, and the harmonizer, the business of healing, veterans, energy, and legacy, the divine blueprint, The future of copper consciousness, the proper copper returns humanity to balance, and then, of course, the appendices, glossary, and references and sources. So, in the acknowledgments, this is very important. I've heard this story several times. I'd like to thank my dear friend Charlie Barker, who has laid to rest on December 5th, 2022. Charlie was one of the most cherished souls I've ever known, quick-witted, kind, and full of humor. His spark and energy were unforgettable, and his curiosity about copper began one of the most life-changing chapters of my journey. We met on June 29th, 2017 in Denver, Colorado, while I was sharing my story about hemp with a family that had a newborn on a rental shuttle. As I stepped off the bus, Charlie ran up to me, introduced himself, and with a serious look, he took his finger and twisted it near my belly and said, "You're the key to the world." 2 weeks later, July 13th, 2017, Charlie showed up again, this time with his good friend Eric, his Denver buddy. But before that visit, he called me first and asked me to meet him at his favorite restaurant, the Melting Pot. We met, ate, and as soon as we finished, poof, he ran out the door and said, "I'll race you to your house." I lived 45 minutes away, and somehow we arrived at the same time. He came in, met my boys, and said, "Hold on a minute." He walked out to his car, came back, and handed me something that would change my life forever. A kilo of cuprous nicotinic acid, Kuner Musker. From that moment forward, my world changed. We thank you, Charlie, and love your family. We love you and honor your legacy. To our founding company owners at Midos Energy, we say thank you for your continued support to Scott Daly, Marge Van Handel, and Eric Van Handel, as well as all the others who support the continued education with copper. This book addresses the importance of copper, whether considered in the context of electricity or scientific applications. The insights and knowledge you gain from this book will depend on your perspective and your interests. Chapter 1, the origin of copper and the 3 states of matter. In every age, humanity has mistaken power for understanding. Copper has paid the price for that confusion. Copper is one of the oldest elements ever known to humankind, and paradoxically, one of the most misunderstood. Long before modern chemistry, before electrons were named or oxidation states defined, copper shaped civilization itself. It was the first metal humans learned to mine, refine, and manipulate. Entire eras, the Copper Age, the Bronze Age, were named after it. Yet, despite this intimacy, humanity never fully learned copper's true nature. Instead, it learned how to use copper, not how to respect it. That misunderstanding persists today, and it begins with a failure to distinguish copper's 3 fundamental states of matter and biology. Copper is a civilizational catalyst. Archaeological evidence places copper being used as far back as 9000 BCE, when early societies discovered that certain green-blue stones could be smelted into malleable conductive metal. Copper reshaped tools, trade, architecture, medicine, and warfare. It enabled plumbing, coinage, electrical grids, and eventually the modern technological world. But ancient civilizations did not understand copper as chemistry. They understood it as alchemy. Copper was associated with Venus, beauty, healing, and conductivity, both physically and spiritually. Egyptian medical texts referenced copper compounds for wound treatment. Greek physicians used copper vessels for water purification. Roman engineers relied on copper for infrastructure that still survives today. What they did not do was isolate copper into unnatural biochemical forms and force it into the human body without understanding its consequences. That mistake would come much later. The 3 faces of copper. Modern science recognizes copper as redox active element, meaning it shifts between different electron states. These states are not interchangeable. They behave differently. They interact differently with biology, and they determine whether copper heals or harms. The first state, Cu0, is copper in its elemental metallic form. This is the copper of wires, pipes, coins, and antennas. It conducts electricity efficiently and resists microbial growth on surfaces. In this state, copper is biologically inert. It does not easily enter cells or participate in enzymatic reactions. Metallic copper belongs in infrastructure, not supplementation. When copper remains metallic, it is stable. When it corrodes, oxidizes, or leaches, it changes state, and the danger begins. Cu2, oxidized copper's toxic state. Cu2, cupric copper, is copper that has lost 2 electrons. It is the form most commonly found in drinking water from copper plumbing, conventional copper supplements, poorly formulated skincare products, oxidized copper salts. This is where the world went wrong. Cu2 is highly reactive. In biology, it generates oxidative stress, disrupts protein folding, and interferes with neurological signaling when improperly handled. Unlike its reduced counterpart, Cu2 can bypass the liver's protective routing systems and enter circulation as free copper. Over time, this leads to accumulation, not healing. The scientific literature is clear. Cu2 toxicity behaves differently than copper overload diseases. It is subtle, chronic, and cumulative. It damages cognition, mitochondrial efficiency, and cellular communication. And yet, this is the form still used universally in supplements. Why? Because Cu2 is cheap, stable, water-soluble, and misunderstood. Cu1, reduced copper, life-sustaining state. Cu1, cuprous copper, is copper in its biologically preferred form. This is the copper that enters cells through regulated transporters, assembles mitochondrial enzymes, supports cytochrome C oxidase, enables superoxide dismutase, and facilitates cellular respiration and ATP production. Cu1 is the copper of life, not corrosion. Evolution designed human biology to recognize and safely process Cu1. Specialized transport proteins exist specifically for this state. Once inside the body, Cu1 is chaperoned, allocated, and utilized with precision. It does not roam freely. It does not accumulate improperly. It communicates, and communication at the cellular level is everything. Our civilization misunderstood copper's proper form. The industrial age collapsed copper complexity into convenience. When copper plumbing spread across the modern world, Cu2 leaching into drinking water became normalized. When supplements were industrialized, cupric salts were chosen for shelf stability, not biological intelligence. When skincare companies chased antimicrobial claims, oxidation was ignored. The result was a world flooded with the wrong copper. Not because copper is dangerous, but because form matters. Just as oxygen can sustain life or cause oxidative damage depending on the context, copper can heal or harm depending on its state. This failure to distinguish between copper Cu0, Cu2, and Cu1 created a medical blind spot that persists to this day. This book exists to correct that error. Setting the stage for the proper copper revolution. Understanding copper's three states is not academic exercise. It's the foundation for everything that follows. The discovery of Cooner-Musper, the stabilization challenge that led to Bio-Cu1, the failure of conventional supplements, the intersection of copper frequency and bioelectric healing. Copper was never meant to be forced into the body indiscriminately. It was meant to be conducted like energy, like truth. In the chapters ahead, we will move from history into science, from misuse into restoration, and from confusion into clarity, because when copper is returned to its proper form, something extraordinary happens. Biology remembers how to heal. Chapter 2 is the discovery of Cooner-Musper copper 1. Every breakthrough begins as a contradiction to what everyone else believes to be true. For over a century, copper supplementation followed a single, flawed assumption that copper's biological value was independent of its oxidation state. This assumption shaped medicine, nutrition, dermatology, and public health policy. It also blinded an entire industry to a critical truth, one that biology had understood all along. Copper does not function as a generic mineral. It functions as a signal, a catalyst, and a conductor, and only in the correct form. The rediscovery of that form is where Cooner-Musper begins. The problem no one wanted to solve. Copper deficiency had long been recognized as harmful. Enzymatic dysfunction, mitochondrial fatigue, and neurological issues, immune compromise, all pointed toward insufficient copper availability. Yet attempts to correct deficiency produced inconsistent and often damaging results. Why? Because copper supplementation was solving the quantity problem while ignoring the form problem. Conventional supplements deliver copper exclusively as Cu2, the oxidized reactive state. While this satisfied labeling requirements and elemental intake calculations, it failed biologically. Worse, it introduced long-term toxicity risks that were subtle enough to evade immediate detection. Researchers began to notice a paradox. Food-based copper appeared safe. Supplement-based copper did not. Drinking water copper correlated with cognitive decline, yet copper itself was essential to life. This contradiction demanded an explanation. The biological preference for copper-1. At the cellular level, copper transport is not passive, it's selective. Human cells possess specialized transporters, most notably CTRI, copper transporter 1, that preferentially recognizes and transport Cu1, not Cu2. Once inside the cell, copper does not flow freely. It is escorted by mellow chaperones to precise destinations. Mitochondria, antioxidant enzymes, electron transport complexes, cellular signaling hubs. This choreography only works when copper enters its reduced state. Cu2 disrupts this system. It bypasses regulation, generates oxidative stress, and accumulates improperly. Cu1, by contrast, integrates. The implication was unavoidable. If copper is to heal, it must arrive as Cu1 and remain Cu1 long enough to matter. That requirement presented an enormous challenge. The stabilization problem. Cu1 is inherently unstable. In the presence of oxygen or water, Cu1 readily oxidizes to Cu2. This is why most industrial processes avoid it. It is chemically inconvenient and requires protection. It demands precision. For decades, this instability was treated as barrier proof, that Cu1 was impractical for supplementation. In reality, it was a filter. Only a formulation that respected copper's chemistry rather than forcing it into compliance could succeed. The breakthrough came with chelation, not as a means of immobilization, but as a means of guided delivery. Kuhner-Muspere. Copper, nicotinic acid, and biological intelligence. Kuhner-Muspere is a copper nicotinic acid complex engineered specifically to maintain copper in the +1 oxidation state, protect it from premature oxidation, enhance cellular uptake, deliver copper where it is biologically needed, free radical chaos. Nicotinic acid, vitamin B3, was not chosen arbitrarily. It plays multiple synergistic roles. It stabilizes Cu1 through coordination chemistry. It increases lipophilicity, improving membrane passage. It supports NADA production, mitochondrial respiration, and energy metabolism. It supports NAD production, mitochondrial respiration, and energy metabolism. It complements copper's role in electron transport and oxidative balance. Together, copper and nicotinic acid form a compound that behaves less like a supplement and more like a biological courier. Copper is not dumped into the system, it is escorted. Federal recognition and NDIN validation. The legitimacy of Kuhner-Muspere was not established through marketing claims or anecdotal enthusiasm. It was established through regulatory scrutiny. The compound was submitted and accepted under FDA New Dietary Ingredient Notifications NDIN 893 and NDIN 910. These filings acknowledge not only the novelty of the compound, but its safety profile and biochemical rationale. This matter, NDIN recognition means the compound is chemically distinct. Its mechanism is understood. Its manufacturing process is defined. Its biological behavior has been evaluated. In a marketplace flooded with loosely defined supplements, Kuhner-Muspere stood apart as a recognized new entity. Mitochondria, where copper becomes energy. Copper's most critical role unfolds inside mitochondria. Within these cellular power plants, copper is required for the assembly and function of cytochrome C oxidase, the terminal enzyme of the electron transport chain. Without copper, electron flow stalls, ATP production falters, energy collapses. Cu1 is the form mitochondria recognize. Kuhner-Muspere's ability to deliver copper efficiently into cells and into mitochondria translates into improved electron transfer, increased ATP synthesis, reduced oxidative stress, enhanced cellular resilience. This is not stimulation, this is restoration. Why Kuhner-Muspere changed everything. Kuhner-Muspere did not introduce copper to biology. It returned copper to biology in the form biology expects. The distinction reshaped how copper could be used. safely, intelligently, systematically, without accumulation of toxicity. It also exposed the fundamental flaw of the existing copper market. Copper was never a problem. The wrong copper was. From Cooner Muster to BioCU1.com. Cooner Muster solved the delivery problem. BioCU1 would go on to solve the application problem, especially in topical and frequency integrated contexts. That evolution rests entirely on Cooner Muster's foundational insight. Copper heals when it arrives reduced, protected, and respected. The proper copper revolution began here, not as a theory, but as a verified chemical reality. Chapter 3, The Truth About Copper Misuse. Most dangerous substances are not poisons, they are half-understood necessities. Copper did not become dangerous because it was misunderstood, it became dangerous because it was oversimplified. Once copper was reduced to a numeric value, its elemental requirement measured in milligrams, its chemistry, context, and biological intelligence were quietly discarded. What followed was not malicious intent, but systematic error, an industry-wide failure to ask the most important question: which copper? The myth of more copper. Modern supplementation operates on a flawed premise that deficiency can be corrected by increasing the intake. This logic works for some nutrients, it does not work for copper. Copper is not consumed to be used indiscriminately. It is consumed to be allocated. The body maintains copper homeostasis through tightly regulated pathways involving intestinal transporters, hepatic processing, metallochaperone proteins, mitochondrial insertion mechanisms. When copper enters in the correct form, this system functions seamlessly. When it enters incorrectly, the system is bypassed. The result is not balance, but accumulation. How copper supplements fail. All conventional copper supplements use cupric salts, Cu2. These compounds are chosen because they are inexpensive, shelf-stable, water-soluble, easy to manufacture. They're not chosen because they are biologically optimal. Cu2 behaves differently than food-derived copper. It enters the circulation too quickly, just like my dog just entered the room incorrectly. It bypasses liver regulation. It contributes to the pool of unbound or loosely bound copper, often referred to as free copper. This is not copper doing its job. This is copper without supervision. Over time, excess Cu2 contributes to oxidative stress, mitochondrial inefficiency, protein misfolding, neurological vulnerability, and cognitive decline. See? These effects are not immediate, they are chronic and therefore easy to ignore. Drinking water, the invisible exposure. Copper plumbing was introduced as a public health improvement. In many ways it was. But copper pipes introduce a variable that was never fully studied: continuous low-dose Cu2 ingestion. When water sits in copper pipes, especially under acidic conditions, copper leaches into the water as Cu2. Unlike dietary copper, this copper is inorganic, unbuffered, immediately bioavailable, not routed through food-based metabolic pathways. This exposure is subtle. It does not trigger acute toxicity. It accumulates silently over decades. Population-level data reveal correlations between widespread copper plumbing and increased neurodegenerative disease prevalence, particularly when compounded by supplemental Cu2 intake. Again, the issue is not copper itself, it is the form and the root. Skincare and the oxidation trap. Topical copper products often market themselves as anti-aging or antimicrobial. Many of these claims are technically true, but incomplete. Copper ions can stimulate collagen production. Copper surfaces reduce microbial load. But when copper is formulated incorrectly, especially in water-based systems, it oxidizes rapidly into Cu2. This presents two problems. Instability, the active form degrades before it reaches the skin. Inflammation, oxidized copper can irritate tissue and disrupt skin homeostasis. Many products rely on copper peptides or salts that oxidize in contact with air or moisture. These formulations prioritize label claims over biological fidelity. True copper-based healing requires oxidation control, delivery precision, tissue compatibility. Without these, copper becomes cosmetic theater, not medicine. Why Cu2 toxicity is different from copper overload. Copper overload disorders such as Wilson's disease involve genetic failures of copper excretion. These conditions are dramatic, identifiable, and medically managed. Cu2 toxicity is different. It does not overwhelm the system, it sidesteps it. Tiny amounts of Cu2 entering circulation repeatedly over extended periods create a distinct pathology. No immediate symptoms, gradual cognitive changes, subtle mitochondrial dysfunction, increased oxidative burden. This is why Cu2 toxicity was missed for so long. It does not behave like poison. It behaves like noise, interfering with the cellular communication until clarity is lost. The market myth exposed. This supplement industry rarely distinguishes copper forms because doing so complicates messaging. Copper sells. Cu1 versus Cu2 requires education. As a result, consumers are misled, clinicians receive incomplete information, copper is blamed for outcomes caused by misuse. The irony is profound. Copper is condemned for damage caused by its incorrect implementation. Reframing the question. The question is not, should humans consume copper? The question is, should humans continue consuming the wrong copper? Biology has already answered this. Food-derived copper, which exists predominantly in the reduced state, is handled safely. Copper delivered through intelligent chelation and stabilization integrates effectively. Copper forced into the system as Cu2 accumulates. One heals, one harms. All right, the cost of ignoring form. When copper is misused, the consequences ripple outward. Healthcare systems misattribute causes. Neurodegeneration is normalized. Fatigue is treated symptomatically. Energy decline is accepted as aging. All while the root issue, copper form mismatch, remains unaddressed. The proper copper revolution is not about adding something new, it's about correcting a fundamental error. Preparing for the next shift. Understanding misuse clears the ground for reconstruction. The next chapter moves beyond chemistry into resonance, where copper conductive nature intersects with frequency, vibration, and the laws that govern energy itself. Copper is not merely a mineral, it is a biological conductor, and conductors respond to frequency. All right, we're in chapter 4, Tesla 369, and the resonant field. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla did not speak in metaphors when he described energy, frequency, and vibration. He spoke as an engineer, one who understood that nature organizes itself through resonant systems, not static parts. The modern world remembers Tesla for electricity. What it forgets is that Tesla was obsessed with how energy organizes matter. Copper sits at the center of that obsession. Resonance is not mysticism. Resonance is a measurable physical phenomenon. It occurs when a system responds most efficiently to a specific frequency. Bridges collapse when wind frequencies match structural resonance. Lasers function through resonant cavities. Cells communicate through oscillatory signals. Biology is not exempt from physics. It is governed by it. Every cell maintains electrical gradients. Every membrane holds potential. Every mitochondrion operates as an electrochemical engine. Frequency is not external to life, it is embedded within it. The question is not whether frequency affects biology. The question is whether biology is equipped to conduct it. Copper is nature's conductor. Copper is unique among biologically essential elements. It is redox active, electrically conductive, catalytically versatile, capable of rapid electron exchange. These properties make copper indispensable to electron transport, the functional process underlying metabolism and energy production. In mitochondria, electrons move through precisely arranged pathways. Copper atoms serve as electron handoff points, allowing controlled flow without chaos. This is not chemistry alone. It is signal fidelity. Where electrons move cleanly, energy is produced efficiently. Where electrons flow degrade, fatigue, inflammation, and dysfunction follow. The meaning of 369. Tesla never published a formal paper on 369. What he left behind were remarks, observations, and an intuitive recognition that certain numerical relationships repeat across physical systems. Interpreted correctly, 369 is not numerology, it is pattern recognition. 3 represents initiation and direction. 6 represents balance and circulation. 9 represents completion and integration. In oscillatory systems, these phases appear repeatedly: wave generation, wave propagation, wave revolution. In biological terms, signal initiation, signal transmission, signal integration. Copper participates in all 3. Copper and oscillatory biology. Cells do not communicate through static chemistry, they communicate through ion gradients, electrical potentials, rhythmic signaling, phase coherence. Copper-containing enzymes regulate mitochondrial respiration, antioxidant balance, neurotransmitter synthesis, immune signaling cascades. These processes are not linear, they are oscillating. CU1 enables this oscillation by allowing controlled redox cycling, the biological equivalent of tuning a circuit rather than flooding it with current. CU2 disrupts this rhythm. CU1 sustains it. Why frequency fails without proper copper. Frequency-based therapies, sound, light, electromagnetic modulation, depend on biological receptivity. A signal cannot heal a system that cannot receive it. Copper deficiency or copper misaligned systems lose coherence. Membranes lose responsiveness. Mitochondria lose efficiency. Signaling becomes noisy. Inflammation replaces regulation. This is why frequency interventions produce inconsistent results when copper biology is ignored. Copper does not replace frequency, it enables resonance, from electricity to bioelectricity. Tesla worked with this macroscopic systems, coils, currents, fields. Biology operates on a different scale, but the same rules apply. The human body is a bioelectric organism. Nerves transmit electrical impulses, muscles respond to ionic gradients, organs synchronize through oscillatory signals. Copper functions as the interface element between chemistry and electricity. It is the translator. When copper is in the correct state, signals propagate cleanly. When copper is oxidized, signals scatter. This is not philosophical, it is measurable. The resonant field is not an aura. It is the sum of coherent electrical, chemical, and oscillatory activity within a biological system. Health corresponds to signal clarity, phase alignment, energetic efficiency. Disease correlates with signal distortion, phase mismatch, energetic waste. Copper, specifically Cu1, is one of the few elements capable of operating across all these domains simultaneously. That is why it appears everywhere. Life requires precision. Why this chapter matters. Without understanding resonance, copper appears to be just another micronutrient. Without understanding copper, frequency appears abstract. Together they form a functional system. Tesla sensed this intuitively. Modern biology is just now catching up. Setting the stage for the human conductor. If copper conducts energy and frequency governs organization, then the human body is not a passive recipient of healing, it is an active conductor. The next chapter explores this idea directly, how copper transforms the human body from a biochemical machine into a bioelectrical system capable of restoration. Chapter 5, the human conductor. The body does not merely run on chemistry, it runs on coherence. Modern medicine describes the human body as a collection of systems: nervous, immune, endocrine, and metabolic. This framing is useful but incomplete. It describes components, not coordination. Coordination requires conduction. At the most fundamental level, the human body is an electrochemical organism. Every thought, every movement, every repair process depends on the controlled movement of electrons and ions. Chemistry provides the materials. Electricity provides the order. Copper sits precisely at the intersection of both. Bioelectricity is not optional. Long before organs form, life establishes electrical gradients. Embryonic development relies on voltage differentials to determine structure. Wound healing depends on electric fields to guide cellular migration. Neural networks function through rhythmic electrical firing. These are not secondary effects, they are primary drivers. The body maintains bioelectrical order through membrane potentials, ion channels, redox signaling, and mitochondrial electron flow. Copper is embedded in each of these processes, not as bulk material, but as a precision element. Copper in blood, brain, and tissue. Copper distribution in the body is highly regulated. In the blood, copper is transported bound to proteins, not free-floating. In the brain, copper supports synaptic signaling, neurotransmitter synthesis, and axonal targeting. In connective tissue, copper-dependent enzymes regulate collagen cross-linking and structural integrity. These roles require copper to cycle between oxidation states safely. Only Cu1 can perform this role without generating oxidative chaos. When copper is delivered incorrectly, these systems do not fail catastrophically. They degrade quietly. The conductive body. Think of the body as a circuit. Cells are capacitors, membranes are insulators, ion channels are switches, mitochondria are generators. Copper is the conductor that links them. Without adequate conductive integrity, signals weaken, response times slow, repair becomes inefficient, fatigue becomes chronic. This is not aging. It is electrical inefficiency. Copper deficiency has signal loss. Copper deficiency is often diagnosed with blood levels. This approach misses the point. Deficiency is not merely absence, it is loss of function. A person may have measurable copper yet suffer from low energy, poor wound healing, cognitive fog, and immune instability. These symptoms reflect impaired signal conduction, not just mineral storage. Copper cannot reach its destination or arrives in the wrong form. It's functionally absent. Healing as recoherence. Healing is not simply repair, it is recoordination. Cells must receive signals, interpret them correctly, respond in synchrony. Copper facilitates this by enabling clean electron transfer and stable redox cycling. When copper pathways are restored, the body does not need to be forced into healing. It remembers how. This is why copper-based interventions can appear disproportionately effective when correctly implemented. They are not adding capacity, they are removing interference. The body as an instrument. An instrument does not create music on its own. It responds to resonance. The human body is no different. When frequency, whether biochemical, electrical, or environmental, interacts with a body equipped to conduct it, harmony emerges. When conduction fails, noise dominates. Copper determines which outcome prevails. Why this reframes health. Health is not a static state. It is a dynamic balance of signals. Copper's role is not to overpower biology, but to enable communication with it. This is why copper appears everywhere where life demands precision. Brain development, energy production, immune regulation, tissue repair. And this is why misuse creates confusion rather than collapse. Preparing to heal the earth. If the human body is a conductor, then its relationship with the environment matters. Copper does not operate in isolation. It interfaces with microbes, ecosystems, and planetary biology. The next chapter expands this view outward, from individual healing to ecological restoration. Chapter 6, Healing the Earth with BioCU1. A system that cannot heal its environment will eventually fail to heal itself. Healing does not stop at the skin, the cell, or the mitochondrion. What affects the body affects the ecosystem, and what degrades the ecosystem ultimately returns to the body. Copper has always occupied this boundary between life and environment. For millennia, copper has been used to control microbial growth, preserve water, and protect crops. Yet modern applications often repeat the same mistake, even in human supplementation, using the wrong form in the wrong way for the wrong reasons. BioCU1 was developed to break that pattern. Antimicrobial does not mean destructive. Most antimicrobial strategies operate on a scorched earth philosophy. They aim to kill broadly, quickly, and indiscriminately. This approach creates immediate results, but long-term consequences. Antibiotic resistance, microbiome collapse, environmental toxicity. Copper offers a fundamentally different mechanism. Copper does not kill by poisoning. It kills by disrupting microbial electron transport and membrane integrity, a process microbes cannot easily adapt to, but only when copper is in the correct redox state. Why CU1 matters in microbial control. CU1 penetrates microbial membranes more effectively than CU2. Once inside, it interferes with respiratory enzymes, DNA replication, membrane potential stability. This action is rapid and decisive, yet nonspecific resistance does not develop. Microbes cannot learn to bypass fundamental electron disruption without losing viability. CU2, by contrast, oxidizes prematurely, binds indiscriminately, causes collateral tissue irritation, loses efficacy over time. BioCU1 leverages CU1 precisely because it aligns with biology rather than overwhelming it. Topical healing without ecological cost. Many topical antimicrobials sterilize skin. This is not healing. It is ecological collapse at the micro scale. Healthy skin hosts a dynamic microbiome that protects against pathogens, regulates inflammation, supports barrier integrity. BioCU1 formulations are designed to suppress harmful bacteria, preserve beneficial microbial balance, support tissue regeneration, avoid resistance development. This balance is only possible when copper is delivered in a controlled, reduced state and stabilized appropriately, most effectively in oil-based systems that prevent oxidation. From wounds to regeneration. Copper plays a dual role in wound environments. Antimicrobial defense, tissue regeneration signaling. Copper plays a dual role in wound environments. Number one, antimicrobial defense. And number two, tissue regeneration signaling. CU1 supports angiogenesis, a collagen formation, and cellular migration, all essential for proper healing. Unlike conventional antiseptics that stall repair while killing microbes, copper accelerates the transition from defense to regeneration. This is not accidental. It is biological design. Environmental resonance and sustainability. Copper is a naturally occurring element. When used intelligently, it does not accumulate destructively, it cycles. BioCU1 applications are designed to minimize environmental load, avoid persistent toxic residues, integrate into natural biogeochemical cycles. This stands in stark contrast to synthetic antimicrobials that persist, bioaccumulate, and disrupt ecosystems long after their intended use. Healing the earth does not require abandoning technology. It requires aligning technology with nature's rules. Copper resistance, a false fear. The fear of copper resistance mirrors early fears about antimicrobial overuse, but it misunderstands mechanism. Resistance emerges when organisms adapt to specific biochemical targets. Copper action is multimodal and fundamental. It interferes with the core electron transfer processes that cannot be altered without destroying viability. This is why copper surfaces remain effective centuries after introduction and why BioCU1 applications retain potency without escalation. BioCU1 as an ecological tool. BioCU1 is not positioned as a universal solution. It is a precision tool. Its proper use includes wound defense, dermatological restoration, antimicrobial protection, pet and veterinary care, sustainable hygiene applications. In each case, the goal is not domination, but restoration of balance. Why this matters now? The world faces converging crises: antibiotic resistance, chronic inflammation, environmental toxicity, immune dysregulation. These problems share a common thread: systems push beyond balance. Copper, returned to its proper form, offers a rare opportunity to intervene without creating new problems. From earth to chemistry. To understand why BioCU1 behaves differently, we must examine the underlying chemistry of how CU1 activates pathways that CU2 cannot. The next chapter moves inward again into molecular detail, where healing is not a metaphor, but a sequence of reactions. Chapter 7, 1022. Healing does not occur because the body wishes it to. It occurs because specific chemical events happen in the correct order. When those events are disrupted, healing stalls. When they are restored, healing resumes, often rapidly and decisively. Copper, in its reduced CU1 state, sits at the center of that sequence. From injury to signal. Every injury begins the same way: disruption. Cells rupture, membranes depolarize, local electrical gradients collapse. Within milliseconds, the body must decide whether the site becomes inflamed, infected, fibrotic, or regenerative. This decision is not conscious, it's chemical. Copper participates in the earliest moments of this response by regulating redox balance, reactive oxygen species, ROS signaling, electron flow stabilization. Contrary to popular belief, ROS are not inherently harmful. In controlled bursts, they function as signals, recruiting immune cells and initiating repair. Copper-dependent enzymes determine whether ROS act as messengers or weapons. CU1 enables control. CU2 amplifies chaos. Copper and redox precision. Redox reactions are electron changes. Life depends on their timing and localization. CU1 function as a reversible redox participant. It can donate an electron. It can accept an electron. It can do so repeatedly without structural damage. This makes CU1 ideal for catalytic roles in enzymes that must operate rhythmically. CU2 lacks this flexibility. It tends to remain oxidized, generating uncontrolled oxidative pressure. Healing requires precision redox cycling, not sustained oxidation. Mitochondria, the regeneration engine. No tissue heals without energy. ATP production surges during repair as cells divide, migrate, and synthesize new structural components. Copper-dependent enzymes within mitochondria ensure this surge is possible. CU1 enables assembly of cytochrome C oxidase, restoration of electron transport chain efficiency, and reduction of electron leakage and oxidative stress. This combination allows mitochondria to increase output without overheating the system. Fatigue is not the absence of energy. It is the inability to produce energy cleanly. Angiogenesis and structural renewal. Healing tissue requires oxygen and nutrients. Copper is essential for angiogenesis, the formation of new blood vessels. CU1 activates pathways that stimulate endothelial cell migration, promote capillary formation, regulate extracellular matrix remodeling. These processes are tightly coordinated. Too little copper, and the wounds remain ischemic. Too much oxidized copper, and the inflammation dominates. Again, form governs outcome. Collagen is not enough. Collagen production is often cited as copper's primary benefit in skin and tissue repair. This is incomplete. Collagen must be correctly cross-linked, properly aligned, integrated into existing tissue architecture. Copper-dependent enzymes ensure structural integrity rather than scar formation. This distinction separates repair from regeneration. Scar tissue closes wounds. Regenerative tissue restores function. The difference between killing and healing. Many treatments focus on eliminating pathogens. This is necessary, but insufficient. Healing requires pathogen control, inflammation resolution, tissue reconstruction, and signal normalization. CU1 contributes to all four. CU2 contributes primarily to the first and often worsens the second. This is why copper-based approaches that ignore oxidation state produce mixed results. Integration with other healing compounds. Copper does not act alone. In properly formulated systems, CU1 synergizes with lipids that stabilize membranes, antioxidants that buffer redox shifts, botanicals that modulate inflammation, and cannabinoids that regulate pain and immune tone. These interactions are not addictive. They are multiplicative, but only when copper chemistry is respected. Why oil-based stabilization matters. Water accelerates oxidation. CU1 exposed to aqueous environments rapidly converts to CU2. Oil-based systems slow this process, preserving copper's reduced state long enough for biological interaction. This is not a formulation preference, it is a chemical necessity. BioCU1 exists because this principle was honored, not ignored. From chemistry to frequency. Chemical reactions do not occur in isolation. They are influenced by temperature, pH, electrical potential, and oscillatory signals. Copper's dual role as chemical catalyst and electrical conductor makes it uniquely sensitive to frequency-based modulation. This is where chemistry meets resonance and where the next chapter begins. Chapter 8, Frequency, Medicine, and the Harmonizer. Chemistry moves matter, frequency organizes it. Medicine has always treated matter first and signals second. Drugs alter chemistry, surgery alters structure. Devices intervene mechanically. These approaches work, but only to a point. What they largely ignore is organization. Biology does not fail because molecules disappear. It fails because signals lose coherence. Frequency medicine exists to restore that coherence. The body is a frequency-responsive system. Every biological process operates with oscillatory parameters. Neurons fire rhythmically, heart cells synchronize through electrical pacing. Circadian systems entrain to light cycles. Mitochondrial activity follows metabolic rhythms. These oscillations are not noise, they are controlled systems. When frequency alignment is lost, chemistry compensates inefficiently. Systems appear not because the body lacks resources, but because it cannot coordinate them. Frequency medicine does not replace chemistry, it reorders it. Copper's unique role in frequency reception. Not all tissues respond equally to frequency-based interventions. Response depends on conductivity. Copper is uniquely positioned here. It conducts electrons efficiently. It participates in redox signaling. It stabilizes oscillatory enzyme activity. CU1 enhances a cell's ability to frequency by maintaining electron mobility without oxidative overload. CU2 interferes with this responsiveness by introducing noise, excess charge without regulation. This distinction determines whether frequency becomes therapeutic or disruptive. Sound, light, and electromagnetic modulation. Frequency medicine spans multiple modalities: acoustic, sound; photonic, light; electromagnetic, EMF. Each interacts with biological systems differently, yet all require signal transduction to be effective. Copper-dependent pathways influence membrane polarization, ion channel sensitivity, mitochondrial resonance, and a neural signal propagation. When copper pathways are intact, frequency modulation produces predictable psychological responses. When they are not, results vary widely. This explains why frequency therapies show promise in controlled settings, but inconsistency in broad application. The missing variable is often copper biology. Misophonia, neural noise, and signal filtering. Misophonia, an extreme emotional response to specific sounds, offers a clear example of frequency dysregulation. The issue is not sound volume, it is signal processing. Neural circuits misinterpret benign frequencies as threats. Copper-dependent neurotransmitter pathways and mitochondrial energy regulation play a role in maintaining proper sensory filtering. Restoring copper-mediated signal clarity does not block sound, it recalibrates interpretation. This principle extends beyond misophonia into anxiety, sensory overload, and autonomic imbalance. The Bio-CU1 frequency harmonizer concept. The Bio-CU1 frequency harmonizer is not a device that imposes healing. It is designed to support biological reception. Its conceptual foundation rests on three pillars. Number one, detection, identifying disruptive frequencies. Number two, modulation, introducing counterbalancing resonance. And number 3, integration, allowing the body to resolve the imbalance naturally. Copper's role is not to generate frequency, but to mediate interaction between applied signals and biological systems. A harmonizer is an interface, not a cure. EMF, grounding and environmental coherence. Modern environments expose humans to unprecedented electromagnetic complexity. While not inherently harmful, chronic exposure without grounding increases biological noise. Copper's presence in grounding systems, conductive pathways, and bioelectric interfaces help stabilize electrical gradients. The Earth itself operates as a resonant system. Grounding restores reference points that allow biological systems to recalibrate. Copper, again, is the conductor. Why frequency medicine requires restraint. Frequency is powerful precisely because it is non-invasive, but power without precision becomes interference. Effective frequency medicine must respect biological limits, avoid overstimulation, integrate with biochemical readiness, prioritize coherence over intensity. Copper sufficiency and proper copper form are prerequisites, not optional enhancements. From intervention to collaboration. The future of medicine is not control, it's collaboration. Frequency medicine collaborates with biology by restoring communication rather than forcing outcomes. Copper enables that collaboration by maintaining signal fidelity. This is not alternative medicine, it is next generation physiology. Preparing for the business of healing. Innovation does not exist in isolation. To bring copper and frequency-based therapies into the world requires infrastructure, ethics, and responsibility. The next chapter addresses that practical reality of building a healing enterprise without compromising truth. Chapter 9, the business of healing. Truth that cannot survive commerce was never truth. It was theory. That's a good one. Healing technologies do not change the world by existing. They change the world by reaching people. That requires business. For many scientists and healers, this is uncomfortable territory. Commerce is seen as corrupt. Profit is viewed as suspect. Yet the absence of ethical business does not protect truth. It leaves the field open to distortion. BioCU1 was built with this reality in mind. Why healing requires infrastructure? Discovery without delivery is incomplete. To translate copper science into real-world impact requires manufacturing discipline, regulatory compliance, quality control, education, and distribution. Each layer introduces pressure to simplify, exaggerate, or compromise. The temptation is to reduce complex truths into slogans. Resisting that temptation is a business decision. Truth before scale. Most health brands begin with scale as the goal. BioCU1 began with fidelity. Key decisions reflected this priority. Choosing CU1 despite formulation difficulty. Stabilizing copper and oil rather than water. Rejecting cheap oxidized salts and educating rather than obscuring the chemistry. These choices slowed growth, they increased cost, they limited immediate market reach, they preserved truth. Regulation as an ally, not an enemy. Regulatory frameworks are often portrayed as barriers to innovation. In reality, they are filters. NDIN filings, GMP standards, and trademark protections do not stifle legitimate innovation. They expose weak claims and careless chemistry. BioCU1 engaged regulation proactively, not defensively. This ensured reproducibility, safety, traceability, and legal clarity. Compliance was treated not as an obstacle, but a validation. Intellectual property and responsibility. Protecting intellectual property is not about monopolization. It is about preventing misuse. Copper chemistry applied incorrectly can cause harm. Ensuring that BioCU1 formulations are not copied without understanding protects both users and the reputation of copper science itself. IP, when used ethically, preserves standards. Intellectual property. Education as a business model. Selling products without education creates dependency. Educating without access creates frustration. BioCU1 integrates both. Customers are not treated as passive consumers, but as participants in understanding copper form, biological context, frequency readiness, and proper use. This model does not maximize impulse purchases, it maximizes long-term trust. Avoiding the wellness trap. The wellness industry often replaces rigor with enthusiasm. Claims escalate, evidence thins, everything becomes miraculous. BioCU1 rejected this path. No universal cures, no exaggerated timelines, no suppression of limitations. Healing is framed as a process, not a promise. Commerce aligned with consciousness. Profit and purpose are not opposite, they are feedback mechanisms. When a product genuinely helps, return follows, reputation grows, scale becomes sustainable. When claims exceed reality, backlash emerges, trust erodes, and mission collapses. The business of healing must answer to biology first and to the market second. From product to platform, BioCU1 is not positioned as a single product line, it is a platform. Copper chemistry, frequency integration, regenerative design, and ethical deployment. Each application builds upon the same core principles. The coherence is not accidental, it is strategic. Preparing the legacy. Healing enterprises outlive founders only when the principles outlast personalities. The decision made by BioCU1's formation were designed not just for success, but for continuity, which raises the final human question: what is healing worth if it does not serve those who serve? Chapter 10, Veterans, Energy, and Legacy. War does not only wound the body, it fractures the signal. Military service demands a level of sustained physiological output that few civilian systems ever experience. Extended hypervigilance, disrupted sleep cycles, environmental toxicity, trauma exposure, and repeated adrenaline surges place extraordinary strain on the human bioelectrical system. Veterans do not return broken, they return overextended. Healing them requires understanding energy, not metaphorically, but biologically. Combat stress as energetic depletion. The nervous system evolved for accurate threat, not chronic activation. In combat environments, stress hormones remain elevated. Circadian rhythms fractured. Mitochondrial output is pushed relentlessly. Recovery windows disappear. Over time, this produces a state of bioelectric exhaustion. The body adapts, but at a cost. PTSD, chronic pain, inflammation, and cognitive fatigue are not psychological failures. They are signal processing injuries. Copper's role in neuroresilience. Copper-dependent enzymes regulate neurotransmitter synthesis, antioxidant defense, mitochondrial respiration, and synaptic plasticity. Under prolonged stress, copper demand increases. If copper delivery is impaired or delivered in the wrong form, neural signaling degrades. This degradation manifests as sensory overload, emotional volatility, hyperactivity, difficulty returning to baseline. Restoring copper pathways does not erase memory, it restores capacity. PTSD as a signal entrapment. PTSD is often framed as a memory disorder. Biologically, it is more accurately described as a failure to disengage threat signaling. Neural circuits remain locked in high-frequency alert states. This parasympathetic system struggles to reassert control. Energy remains trapped in readiness. Copper-mediated mitochondrial efficiency and neurotransmitter balance support. Signal dampening, re-entry into coherence, and restoration of baseline rhythms. This is not sedation, it is recalibration. Frequency, trauma, and re-entraining the nervous system. Trauma alters frequency response. Certain sounds, lights, and environmental patterns trigger disappropriate reactions, not because the stimuli are harmful, but because the nervous system misinterprets them. Frequency-based approaches, when paired with copper readiness, offer a path towards safe re-entrainment. Gradual signal exposure, resonance-based calming, restoration of autonomic balance. Copper enables the nervous system to receive these interventions without overloading. Pain, inflammation, and energy leakage. Chronic pain is often treated as localized pathology. In veterans, it frequently reflects systematic energy leakage, where repair processes cannot keep pace with the inflammatory signaling. Copper's role in mitochondrial efficiency, oxidative stress regulation, and tissue repair allows the body to reclaim energy previously lost to chronic inflammation. Healing pain is not about suppression, it is about closing the loop. Veterans as proof of concept. Veterans represent one of the most demanding test populations for healing technologies. If a system can support recovery in individuals exposed to extreme stress, environmental toxins, neurological trauma, and metabolic exhaustion, then its validity extends beyond theory. By OCU1's alignment with veteran healing is not symbolic, it's functional. From service to stewardship. Many veterans struggle not because they lack purpose, but because their biology no longer supports the level of engagement they are capable of. Restoring energy restores agency. This transition from service to stewardship requires healing symptoms that respect dignity, autonomy, psychological reality. Copper, properly applied, becomes part of that restoration. Legacy is not what is built, it is what is sustained. Healing veterans is not charity, it is a responsibility. A society that extracts energy without restoring it collapses. The Bio-CU1 mission extends beyond products into legacy structures designed to protect intellectual integrity, support long-term access, and ensure ethical continuity. Because healing must outlive the moment. Toward the blueprint, veterans understand systems. They understand structure, order, and consequences. The final chapter is return to this understanding, connecting copper, energy, and the universal design principles into a coherent framework. Chapter 11, 369, the divine blueprint. Patterns repeat because they work. Human beings have often searched for meaning in numbers. Too often, that search drifts into superstition. Yet beneath symbolism lies something far more grounded: structure. Nature organizes itself mathematically, not poetically, not spiritually, but efficiently. The recurrence of patterns is not coincidence. It is optimization. The framework, often referred to it as 369, is best understood not as numerology, but as a universal cycle of organization, one that appears wherever energy becomes form. 3 phases of every system. Across physics, biology, and engineering, complex systems consistently follow a 3-phase progression. Number 1, initiation. Energy enters the system. Number 2, circulation. Energy moves, distributes, and stabilizes. Number 3, integration. Energy resolves into structure or output. This pattern is not symbolic. It is observable. Electrical systems initiate current, distribute load, and resolve output. Biological systems signal, respond, and adapt. Healing processes inflame, repair, and restore. This is the functional meaning behind 3. 6, balance and return. Where 3 introduces motion, 6 governs equilibrium. In closed systems, circulation must return to center. In biology, this is homeostasis. In electronics, impedance matching. In ecosystems, feedback regulation. 6 represents symmetry, balance, stabilization, return pathways. Copper-dependent enzymes operate heavily in this phase, maintaining redox balance, regulating oxidative stress, and ensuring signals do not overshoot. Without 6, systems spiral. With 6, systems sustain. 9, completion and emergence. 9 represents resolution, not termination, but emergence. When energy has been initiated and balanced, it integrates into something new. Tissue regenerates, learning consolidates, systems evolve. 9 is where complexity becomes coherent. In copper biology, this appears when mitochondrial efficiency is restored, inflammation resolves, signaling returns to baseline, function exceeds pre-injury levels. Healing is not a return to the past. It is an emergent upgrade. Copper as the blueprint element. Copper's unique ability to cycle between states allows it to participate in all 3 phases. It initiates electron transfer, it stabilizes redox balance, it integrates energy into usable work. Few elements operate across such domains without degradation. This is why copper appears repeatedly wherever life demands precision. Sacred geometry without superstition. Sacred geometry is often dismissed because it is misused. At its core, it describes efficient spatial organization. Hexagonal structures, spiral growth, and wave interference patterns emerge because they minimize energy expenditure while maximizing stability. Copper-based enzymes, mitochondrial membranes, and neural networks all reflect these principles, not because they are sacred, but because they are efficient. Calling this divine is not theological, it's observational. Why science and meaning diverged. Modern science abandoned meaning to preserve objectivity. In doing so, it lost context. Meaning does not replace evidence, it frames it. The reintroduction of pattern recognition without abandoning rigor allows science to explain not just how systems work, but why certain configurations persist. Copper persists because it fits the blueprint, reuniting mind, body, and system. 3 is mind, 6 is body, 9 is integration. Mind signal, body balance, integration function. This framework mirrors neural signaling, metabolic regulation, regenerative healing. It is not imposed, it is observed. The danger of misinterpretation. When patterns are divorced from discipline, they become belief systems. This book rejects that path. The 369 framework is not a doctrine. It is a lens, useful only when it clarifies measurable reality. Copper clarifies because it operates at the intersection of signal, balance, and integration. Preparing for the future. Understanding the blueprint is not an endpoint. It is a responsibility. The final chapter looks forward toward integrative medicine, ethical technology, and a future in which healing aligns with biological intelligence rather than overriding it. Chapter 12, the future of copper consciousness. Every revolution begins quietly when understanding replaces force. The future of medicine will not be defined by stronger interventions. It will be defined by smarter alignment. For centuries, progress has been measured by control, stronger drugs, more aggressive treatments, faster suppression of symptoms. This approach delivered miracles and consequences. Copper stands at the threshold of a different future, not as a cure-all, not as a trend, but as a return to biological intelligence. From intervention to integration. The next era of healing will prioritize integration over intervention. Rather than overriding systems, medicine will increasingly ask, what does the body require to restore coherence? What signals are missing, distorted, or blocked? What elements enable communication rather than domination? Copper, in its proper form, answers these questions precisely because it does not force outcomes, it facilitates them. Integrative medicine without compromise. Integrative medicine has often struggled with credibility, not because it lacks insight, because it lacks discipline. The future demands both. Copper consciousness represents an integrative model that respects biochemistry, honors physics, incorporates frequency, demands regulatory rigor, and rejects exaggerated claims. This is not alternative medicine. It is comprehensive medicine. Non-toxic therapeutics as the standard. Toxicity has been normalized in medicine under the assumption that benefits must outweigh the harm. This trade-off is increasingly untenable. The future belongs to systems that minimize collateral damage, preserve biological reserves, and support long-term resilience. Copper, when delivered as CU1 and stabilized intelligently, offers antimicrobial, regenerative, and signaling benefits without cumulative toxicity. This is not an optimization, it is a correction. Frequency-based healing comes of age. Frequency medicine will mature when it stops pretending to replace chemistry and begins collaborating with it. Copper is the bridge. As bioelectric understanding deepens, frequency-based approaches will become more targeted, more predictable, more measurable. Not because the frequencies change, but because the biology becomes more receptive. The 100-year vision? True healing technologies must think in decades, not quarters. The Bio-1 CU vision extends beyond products into education, ethical manufacturing, veteran support, ecological responsibility, and intellectual stewardship. Copper consciousness is not about market dominance, it's about continuity. Returning humanity to balance. Humanity's greatest challenge is not disease, it's imbalance. Energy without regulation, technology without wisdom, growth without grounding. Copper, properly understood, offers a model for balance. Conductive, not coercive. Responsive, not reactive. Powerful, yet restrained. The proper copper principle. The proper copper principle is simple. Form matters, context matters, intelligence matters. When copper is returned to its proper state, biology responds with clarity. When systems are aligned rather than forced, healing emerges naturally. This principle extends beyond copper. It applies to medicine, business, environment, and legacy. A closing reflection. This book is not a conclusion. It is an invitation to question assumptions, to respect complexity, to heal without harm. Copper has waited patiently through centuries of misuse. Now it returns quietly, precisely, and correctly. Join me in the learning of Proper Copper 1 and other amazing books to come in the future. Epilogue. The Proper Copper returns humanity to balance. Balance is not achieved by force. It is restored by understanding. Every error leaves behind a lesson it did not fully understand. For centuries, copper was used, traded, and revered, yet rarely questioned. When modern science arrived, it dissected copper into parts, measurements, and dosages, believing that precision alone equaled truth. In doing so, it overlooked something essential. Form. Form matters. Copper was never meant to be treated as a generic mineral. It was meant to function as a conductor of electrons, of signals, of biological intelligence. When that role was ignored, copper was blamed for failures that were never their own. This book exists to set the record straight. What was never broken? Human biology was not designed incorrectly, it was misinformed. The body knows how to heal. It always has. What it requires is not domination, but alignment. Chemistry that respects physics, interventions that honor rhythm, and elements delivered in the form life recognizes. Copper returned to its proper state does not impose healing, it removes interference. Why this matters beyond copper. Copper is the case study, but not the endpoint. The lessons revealed here apply broadly, that oxidation state alters function, that signaling governs outcome, that frequency organizes matter, that biology responds best to cooperation, not coercion. Medicine's future depends on remembering these truths. A responsibility, not a revelation. This work does not claim discovery in isolation. It stands on centuries of observation, decades of research, and the quiet confirmation of biology itself. What makes this moment different is not knowledge, but willingness. Willingness to question established practices. Willing to distinguish convenience from correctness. Willingness to slow down when speed compromises integrity. Copper waited. Biology waited. The question is whether humanity is ready. The return to balance. Balance does not mean perfection, it means responsiveness. A balanced system adapts without collapsing. A balanced body heals without excess. A balanced society innovates without destroying its foundation. Copper, properly understood, models this balance precisely, powerfully, restrained, essential, and humble. In closing, if there was one truth to carry forward, it's this. Healing is not about adding more. It is about correcting what is misunderstood. The proper copper has returned, not as a trend, not as a cure-all, but as a reminder that when intelligence is restored, healing follows. Quietly, naturally, and correctly. By Jarrett K. St. Amand, my hero. So I read the book here. The copper is not a trend, it's a biological truth. The synopsis is, copper is one of the most misunderstood, misrepresented elements in modern health and medicine. In The Truth About Copper, Jarrett K. St. Amand challenges decades of misinformation, fear-based narratives, and incomplete science to reveal copper's true role in cellular energy production, immune balance, neurological signaling, skin regeneration, and systemic repair. Drawing from emerging research, real-world applications, and advanced copper formulations, this book explains why form, oxidation state, and delivery method matter more than dosage alone, and how getting copper wrong can be just as harmful as deficiency. This is not speculation, it's not marketing. This is elemental biology retraining. Jarrett K. St. Amand, former U.S. combat Marine who served in Operation Restore Hope, dedicated to healing humanity with copper education today, IOCU1.com.
Well, I'm not in the state of Florida's jurisdiction.
Okay. Okay, good. Would you like to step out of the vehicle, or would you like us to pull you out?
All right, everyone. I'm Frank Slope, coming up on 25 years as a deputy sheriff here in the great state of Arizona. Today, we're going to be doing some body cam breakdown. Police Ride-Alongs is the channel where we found today's video. Looks like it's going to be a good one. Sam says he likes it. I haven't watched it yet. While we're doing some breakdown, we're also going to be doing some bingo. Body cam bingo is going to be the card today. We're using card number 5. You can order all of our cards. There's a set of 5. Order them on our website. I'll pack them and I'll send them to you. But for right now, let's get to the video.
On this ride-along, a woman gives a smirk.
Need your driver's license, okay?
An officer finds a special license plate.
Diplomat.
And another pets a small dog. On August 21st in Florida,
The motor cop.
pulled over a woman for speeding through a school zone.
So there's a common rumor in the world that you get stopped by a motor cop, you're probably going to get a ticket. And that rumor is correct. Those of us that are assigned to full-time traffic units, whether as a motor or as an aggressive driver vehicle, it is our job to correct behavior by the issuance of citations. When you come out of the academy, you don't just go straight to a specialty division like K-9 or traffic or SWAT. You have to have some years on. So people that are in specialty divisions, whether it's detectives or any of the other, investigatory or, enforcement support units, if you're in one of those units, most likely those people have several years on. So they've got some time on. They know a thing or two about the law. So when that motor gets off of his motorcycle and he walks up to the window, he knows exactly how to conduct this traffic stop. And he knows all about the law to which he is specifically enforcing. He might not know about forgeries and he might not know about child crimes, but he definitely knows a thing or two about traffic law. So as he walks up there and is starting to conduct this traffic stop, and she wants to interject the little bits of knowledge that she knows about random things, she has absolutely, she's in over her boots right from the word go.
He didn't know it, but this woman had special immunity.
Hello, how are you? Hey, I'm Officer Roosevelt Traffic. The reason I stopped you in 34 through the school zone. The speed limit's 20. You were 14 miles an hour over the speed limit, okay? You got your license, registration, proof of insurance with you?
Actually, diplomat.
Huh?
I'm actually diplomat.
What? For what? Do you have your driver's license?
That card is the Amnesty Coalition's Diplomat Passport Card.
Do you have a driver's license?
I'm a diplomat.
Do you have your driver's license? I need your driver's license, okay?
Am I being,
Yes, you are.
Okay, then can you read me my rights?
Dispatch from Tango 55.
No.
Can you read-
We're not going to play the sovereign game, okay? Can I get a routine 44 and be 10 for the sovereign? May I please have your...
Here it comes.
If I'm being detained, then I have to.
Ma'am.
I'm in custodial arrest.
I understand that. Ma'am, we're not playing the sovereign game, okay? I need your driver's license. If not, I'm going to remove you from the vehicle and you're going to go to jail, all right? Please hand me your driver's license.
She tried playing the sovereign game 3 months earlier in an Orange County courtroom, and we obtained the footage of that for you.
Judge, you ordering her out of the courtroom?
I ordered her out of the courtroom.
Okay, you need to leave the courtroom now. Turn around. You will be arrested for resisting without.
I am not resisting.
You are going to get arrested for resisting without if you do not leave the courtroom now.
Before we go any further, I got to bring something up. Medicare changes every year. A recent report just said patients might see benefits cut in 2027. That's why you need an advocate. So I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Chapter. My dad's on Medicare, and it's frustrating, especially if you're trying to navigate your options with a flip phone like he is. That's what's great about Chapter. They handle most of their business over the phone. Chapter advisors compare every plan nationwide. And unlike other companies, they don't just push the plan with the highest commission. They're independent and above all, honest. They'll look at your doctors, your prescriptions, and your budget to find a plan that's actually right for you. On average, seniors who work with Chapter have saved $1,100 a year. It's free and it takes under 20 minutes. Call Chapter today at 805-604-5905. Even if all you have is a flip phone, like my dad, a real human will help you find the best plan. Give Chapter a call at 805-604-5905.
Please leave.
I
being nice
am here challenging jurisdiction.
Yes.
Please leave.
Just leave. Do
I
you want to
am
end
here-
up going to jail? Just come this
I'm here challenging jurisdiction and I'm standing in my rights.
Okay.
That's it. You're under arrest.
For resisting without. I have been given an order by the judge.
I'm here challenging jurisdiction. I'm a living woman. I'm not an entity. I'm here challenging.
She has ordered you out of the courtroom and you're refusing to leave.
We'll check back with this later, but for now, how about we see if the traffic stop goes any better for the woman?
She's dumb.
You're 4 times now, okay?
So I love that they got this body cam footage from her in court. So she is of a belief system that doesn't believe in our courts. In other words, the courts of the jurisdiction to wherever she committed that offense. So she doesn't believe in the laws, which means if she doesn't believe in the laws, she doesn't believe in the courts. But then she still goes to court to plead her case in front of the judge in a courtroom that she doesn't believe in, and then gets arrested again because I don't know where the end is for all of these crazy thoughts. But if every time I had interaction with law enforcement, I was arrested, I would probably change my views because things aren't going well. And things aren't going well.
Please hand me your driver's license.
Miss, please speak with your whoever's over you, please. Can you?
You'd like to speak with a supervisor?
Yeah, I wish I had that on my card.
His license.
I'd like to speak with them, please. I'd like to speak with them, please.
I understand that, but he's not. He's going to tell you the same thing I am. Okay.
Yep. All right. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Oh, nearly 100% of the time, you want to deal with the officer or deputy on the side of the road. You don't want to bother their supervisor. Supervisors have supervisor things to do. When this sergeant gets there, he immediately goes to, I don't have patience. I'm going to rip you out of this car. That's it. He entertains her for less than 1 minute and is like, look, that's it. I'm not a patient guy and you're coming out of this car. I love that. I love that she's not getting any different answer from the supervisor than she did from the officer. And in all of the videos on this channel that we've ever seen, there has never been an officer that said no, and then the supervisor got there and said, oh yeah, let this person go. That has it's never happened in the history of forever. It just, unless there was some sort of gross issue, it just doesn't happen. So this is just yet another example to all those sovereigns out there that when you ask for a sergeant, you're not going to get anything different. It's just, you're barking up the wrong tree.
I'd like to speak with them.
Dispatch from Tango 55.
I'm trying to.
You're absolutely trying to be more difficult.
Is it 51, please? Okay, so let's do this. I've done everything you've asked. Now please hand me your driver's license. Are you refusing to identify yourself to me? Driving is a privilege in this state. It is not a right. I understand you're going to say you have the right to travel, all that stuff. Okay.
You don't.
But driving on the public roadways is a privilege. By that privilege, you have to have a driver's license with you. So, I'm asking you to give me your driver's license. Okay. I understand that, but I need your driver's license. I'm trying to be as nice as I can. I'm giving you every opportunity to give me your driver's license, okay? So, do you have a driver's license?
She actually does, but it's suspended.
Of course it is.
Did you know your license was suspended?
I was sure.
Turned it in or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Can I have my copy back?
No.
This? No, I'm going to hang on to this now in case something happens. So, if this at least has your name on it, then it's okay. All right, that's fine. I'm going to hang on to it for right now then. All right? So, what I'm asking you is a driver's license. Do you have a driver's license? I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm under custodial arrest, then I'd like to remain silent.
You're just being detained right now for a traffic violation. It's a civil infraction is all it is. So,
Custodial arrest.
so what I'm saying is
custodial
you
arrest.
can give me your driver's license. I can issue a citation. You can be about your way. If not, we'll have to go down a different route. I've already explained to you what that route is, okay? So,
I'd like to remain silent.
okay, that's fine. So you're not going to give me your driver's license, nothing like that.
Can I please speak with this?
Okay, all right. We'll just wait for somebody else to get here, okay?
He's not very smart.
So,
It would only take a moment for the supervisor to arrive, but he wouldn't be wearing his body cam. The clip was there, but not the camera, so we don't get his viewpoint.
so per your request, the supervisor is here, okay? So he's actually walking up now, all right? So here he is.
Good morning, Sergeant Mr. Reverend. How can I help you today?
Good morning. This officer here, he pulled me over and then he asked me for a driver's license, and I explained that I'm a diplomat, and I gave him an identification for myself, and then he is continually insisting that I give him a driver's license. Like I said, I'm a diplomat, and then I asked if I was under custodial arrest or am I free to go. And he said that I was being detained, so I assume that that's under custodial arrest, so I'd like to
But you're wrong.
remain silent.
Okay, so you don't want to have anything else to say? Did you want to identify yourself to this officer then, or the driver's license?
This is not a valid identification.
That's not an identification.
It is.
It's not a valid identification card.
Okay, let's not recognize in the state of Florida.
I'm not in the state of Florida's jurisdiction.
Okay, good. Would you like to step out of the vehicle, or would you like us to pull you out because we're going to be under arrest?
I think that deputy said that same thing.
Okay, I'm letting you know what's going to happen. I'm giving you the option to step out. so that's the less violent.
Hey, what are you? Stop! Don't be reaching for stuff. Don't be reaching for stuff.
As that was going on, a third officer would arrive with a pepper ball blast at the ready.
Hey, now we're talking.
I would prefer you don't start reaching for stuff. Do you have any weapons in the vehicle? Okay. Do you have a name and date of birth you'd like to provide for the? Can you stop reaching for stuff?
Just.
Do you have a name and date of birth you'd like to give this officer?
I did give him.
It's not valid, ma'am. We've already told you that. Okay. Ma'am, this is not a valid identification card. This is not recognized by the state of Florida. Okay, this is not a valid ID. Okay, so you want to go that route? You want to give me your name and date of birth?
This can't be a deputy. This has to be a police officer. No deputy would take this long.
I'm not a very patient person in general. I don't really need to be because we've given you opportunity to provide this information, and you're basically saying you don't recognize it. So we can either ask you to step out of the vehicle, or I'm going to pull you out of the vehicle, and I have no problem with that. And you'll be under arrest. Okay? So to save the heartache of maybe even breaking this window, because we don't want to have to do that either, you can step out of the vehicle and save yourself some trouble.
Can't hear a whole lot. From
31 33.
it sounds like a possible sovereign, maybe.
Turn your vehicle off for me. Step out, okay? Just turn your vehicle off. Just turn your vehicle off, okay? Come on, step out of the vehicle, okay?
There we go. Door's open. I like it.
For me, all right?
Get out.
Come on.
I don't understand why.
Okay, well, come on. Let's just hop out. Just step out for me, okay?
Continue recording.
Step out.
Fine. I'm going to end up taking that phone and setting it down, though.
Yep. Just go ahead and put your hands behind your back, right here.
Thank you.
We're good. I got it.
Yeah, the motors are wearing nice bright green shirts.
Okay?
No, I mean, that's not a crime. I didn't do anything.
You
You
refuse
don't recognize the state of Florida's authority over whatever
I think she said I don't do anything. I didn't do anything. I'm going to take that one.
driver's license could be for a motor vehicle or travel in a motor vehicle, whatever verbiage you'd like to use.
Come back here for me.
I'm providing them all. You're driving. You're on. Come over and sit down. So any bumper for me, okay?
Sit right here.
I don't
Lean against your car.
understand.
I just explained that to you. Which words did you not understand of that sentence?
I don't understand why I'm being arrested.
Okay, so the part where I just explained it to you, where you're driving a motor vehicle and not having a valid license in the state of Florida, besides your reasonings for not recognizing that law of authority, is there any other reason why you may not understand that sentence?
I'm not in that jurisdiction. I'm in
Okay, besides that, because I realize you don't recognize our jurisdiction.
She had a hard time understanding her courtroom arrest as well.
Are you arresting me?
I am for resisting without because you have refused a judge's direct order.
She does not have jurisdiction.
Okay, that is your
There
choice.
is no previous with her jurisdiction over me.
Okay.
Yep, out you go.
Because if you don't recognize the jurisdiction, you're not going to recognize the law, and you're not going to understand why you're being arrested. And I can't explain it to you.
I didn't injure anyone.
But we didn't say you did.
Yeah, pet that dog. All right, everyone knows I'm a big fan of dogs. And I'm telling you right now, if I was that officer standing on the sidewalk and that dog walked up to me, I would spend the entire rest of that video would be me petting that dog. That's it. I mean, I see a whole bunch of sovereign, but probably not that help you. So, I can't mental gymnastics that this woman has to go through to justify these multiple arrests and all this negative contact with law enforcement. And then after she does that to her kids, like you've got 8 small humans who you're responsible for. You're not going to have a lot of time to be arrested in jail freely and repeatedly. So she says in here she's a good person, she's a good mom, but I think her moms take care of the kids and are present for the kids. Her moms don't get arrested by different jurisdictions in jail. So I'm going to agree with her on that.
Did you watch that justified everything you're thinking of? Cover this part? Or did they just fast forward to the court where everything got dropped and magically went away?
This is biblical.
Oh. I don't remember motor vehicles covered in the Bible. It's been a while since I read it, though.
In prison is biblical. Being in prison for following God is biblical.
Okay, but
Do you believe in the Bible?
sure, and I've read it a couple times.
And so
I don't remember motor
Here's
vehicles.
the thing: you're not being arrested for following God. You're being arrested for refusing to identify yourself to me. That's why you're being arrested. Okay?
I'm standing on the truth that I'm following God's law and not people's law. And
Well, we're not judges, we're not executioners. We're simply
can't take
abiding
that
and enforcing the laws that we're.
All right. I like that guy in his show. I think one of them are from Arizona. I don't know if he's the one from Arizona. But funny thing is, coming back, I'm going up Bell, or down Bell or across Bell because it goes east and west. And there's a policeman in the line of 3 cars there going across. As it works out, Bell is 40 miles an hour, which I think is crazy because the side streets are 45. But as it worked out, I ended up being where I was right alongside him as we're coming up to the light, and he's like right here. So I had to put my blinker on and go in front of him, right? So I went up front and sat there at the light. And then when the light turned green, put my blinker on, turned right, started going up with cruise control on 45, and he followed me. And meanwhile, I was listening to this, and I'm thinking, I would never act that way. And for what possible goal does she do this? Who knows? But there's thousands of these. I don't know. When I deal with the police, let me see, 1 or 2 times it's happened maybe in the last 2 decades. My dog is driving me crazy. They don't do any of that. I got the window down, I got the radio off, I got the car turned off, and I got my license and insurance. I don't know, the registration, all that. Maybe there's something wrong with me. So, but this is kind of what's going on in the world today. Okay, is people like this are causing problems for the masses. Let's say, okay, you got these isolated people that have this thinking, they're this sovereign. I don't know what that is about. I heard about this for 30 years. I've heard about, so you should be a sovereign individual. Bunch of BS. You use the resources we have. You should be part of the gang. And earlier, I was on at 2 o'clock, but this wasn't on apparently because so much was going on before I got the show going that I thought I was live. And so for 25 minutes, I ranted and talked for nobody. And there's probably nobody here now because it's, an hour and a half later. But I didn't feel like going to the gym today, but it's day 22 of the challenge. And my best so far was 3.27. And when I started, it was 2.44. So I was like, man, today I am just going to just do the minimum. You know what I mean? And I ended up at the end with 3.29. I beat my benchmark. So now that's my new benchmark, headed towards 3.5 miles in 30 minutes. So if you're able to do that, I commend you because I'll tell you what, I had to bust my ass to do it. I got some videos. I can't even keep up with the videos anymore. One day my blood pressure was down to here, which was good, but I can't, 142/87. It won't let me share the image. So my point this morning was, in the middle of all these frustrations going on, I felt the need to chill for a second and say the Lord's Prayer because I'm thinking, how would I act in heaven if this scenario was going down? I was just talking to Tim Power Station about that. A lot of people have the idea that heaven is just like this place that you go to and I stop and think about how ridiculous is this. You're going to go to heaven and everything is going to be perfect. Any game you play, you're going to win. You're not going to be hungry anymore. Okay. You're not going to have any of the desires that you had before, apparently. But what is going to be heaven? And I think that we have to gear ourselves up to that ideal of what it's going to be like in heaven here on earth before we go. The Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth is the acronym. If you're able to act in a way here on earth how you would in heaven, then you're probably ready, you see. Probably ready to not get totally frustrated because of having to do 6, 7 passwords because this one's resembles this other one. I mean, that's ridiculous. Of course it resembles the other one. That's why I wanted to use the password because I got the same. But I got like 7 or 8, 9, 10 different passwords. I even got one that's Babaloo, I don't know. Oh, it's just going anywhere it can to disrupt me right now. It's going back and forth over the cord. There's all this whole house it could be in, but no, it's got to be right there back and forth. That's why I unplugged it. I love the dog, but he drives me crazy. Okay? Give me a minute. Here. Here. So the whole point about the early morning rant was Christianity in this country is being left by the wayside. You know, they don't say even they don't even say the Pledge of Allegiance sometimes in some classrooms, huh? How about that? You don't even know the Pledge of Allegiance. So, and the Our Father, how many people know the Our Father? All right, my point is, like I was saying about a friend of mine sent me a prayer, and it says to God, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now, my problem is if it said to Jesus, okay, blah, 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 whatever, in my mind, that would be okay according to what Jesus told us to do. Like I was talking to Tim. Jesus would talk to the masses, okay, and he even had to go out on a boat to get far enough away from them so he could talk to them. And he would tell them these different stories. And they would think they got them figured out, but they didn't have them figured out. And then later in the evening around the campfire there, Jesus would break it down for his apostles and disciples, okay? And kind of like Paul Harvey used to have a story, and then he'd have the rest of the story. So he'd break it down for you. All right. One of the things he said was, when you pray to the Father, that's different than praying to Jesus, he said. You pray to the Father, pray in this way. That's why I say the Our Father. And then after I've done that, I think about or mention things as I'm going through that are relevant to that prayer. That's the whole goal. One of the things I'm praying for right now is Christians to rise up and not the Islamification of America continue. Okay, like in Texas. What the hell are you people thinking? And then we got people that shout death to America that are in our Congress and Senate and in our positions of power. Why? What is wrong with you people? The Pledge of Allegiance even says under God. It doesn't say under Allah. It doesn't say under, whoever. It says under God. This country was founded by people who had relative thoughts about God and Christianity. It was founded by men from Europe who came here with the Christian ideal, okay? And even if you're not Christian, you still, one God, you believe there's something greater than you and that there will be consequences for your life, good or bad. But yet, because we're so empathetic and so, we're going to be sympathetic and, bring your Muslim culture in and take it down the street there and take over that Catholic Church because you guys live different than we do, okay? Very different than we do. And so you can all live in one little house and save up your money and buy a Catholic church from a church that's losing its denomination because they're empathetic to Muslims. Are you kidding me? You go back and read the Old Testament, you find out entire families, their children, everything was wiped out because of less than what we're doing right here in this country to God. And yet you say, God, let's pray for the fucking Muslims, huh? Excuse me, does that make sense to you? Pray for the people that want to kill you. Now, the difference in the religions is they want an explosion. They want a blow up. They want everything to blow up in the end. Study it. Check it out. I have. The Christian religion does not want a blow up, does not want to go out. Now, in the past, in history, they went out and pushed it on other places and countries. I don't agree with that at all. If it's made knowledge to you, that's one thing. But to make the Indians stop speaking their language because it wasn't Christian, that was bullshit. There's all kinds of misrepresentations of Christianity. That's why for a while I didn't want to say I was a Christian, because it's a bunch of blowhard bullshit. You act all nice, but then what do you do when nobody's around watching, okay? What do you do to help out your neighbor that puts you out a little bit or requires a little tolerance? But helping your neighbor out and tolerance is not letting a Muslim come in and take over your school and make your child believe she has to wear a hijab to be cool. I seen one there. The kid was upset because she wasn't wearing a hijab or something like that. That's crazy, man. And then to turn around and make white people feel like just because you want to be white, just because you want to do things that your culture, baseball, apple pie, all that happy horse shit, country music, that there's something wrong with that. There's not a damn thing wrong with it. We watch other cultures and we let them do what they want to do. But the difference in being passive and being a lay down and let people walk over you is completely different. I don't think Jesus would want that. Jesus proved that when he walked in the temple and all the pious people walking around with their robes and using the church as a money collector. What did he do? He had anger. He blew up. I understand there's this theory. Jesus said, if somebody slaps you in the cheek, turn the other cheek. But I think if they slap you again, then you ought to knock the hell out of them. I don't think Jesus would put up with that. But these are my opinions and my views and my observations. And some things bother me, like people that are too damn stupid to pull into the intersection at a light. Yeah. How stupid is that? They sit back at the light, and there's at least 25, 30 feet they got to go before they can make the left, and they sit there until the light turns red. Yeah. Makes me crazy. The idea is you pull into the intersection, the light turns red, everybody allows the person in the intersection to continue the left-hand turn, and traffic moves better. Okay? Another thing that pisses me off while we're on it. Okay? We got these people that act like they're Epcot on the mezzanine, walking out of Walmart, across the parking lot, walking out of the grocery store. They don't understand there's this side and this side. They're walking with their baskets and their kids diagonally, meandering down the damn parking lot. I love when they just walk out, looking at their phone, and just act like you're not going to run them over. The American way, the gentleman's way, would be to come out, acknowledge the person. If they're allowing you to go, let them go. If they're continuing on, you should wait. But this whole thing, you got to wait for pedestrians. Now you got a whole herd of them going there. Nobody even cares. How many cars are coming up. They just walk out into them. Could be some idiot, run them over. Maybe he was looking at something. Maybe he was looking at his cell phone, and he did, boom, run over. But just this privilege idea, Have some freaking respect for yourself and have some respect for other people. How hard is it to say, thank you for letting me go? No. Big ass. Some of you people need to understand, I bet you God would be upset if he let you see what you let yourself go to. I was going that way 10 years ago or so, man. I swear I was just letting myself go. And I got to thinking, well, what if I needed to kneel down before God? I can't even kneel. Can't even get into the yoga position and kneeling. Huh? And believe it or not, it was a Muslim that made me feel embarrassed because I felt like I could just pray anywhere. And they made it a point to pray at their time to their God. And I thought, hey, if I'm going to pray to God, I ought to be, genuflect. I ought to be able to take care of my body, this beautiful body God gives us. And I know some of you are born with them things, but you overcome those, see? Some of you just being really lazy, man. Really lazy. And I tell you, get out there, do something for 30 minutes that makes you sweat. You'll feel better. So, all things considered, it's Friday for you, but it's Monday for me and Anita, so we work through the weekend. And I'll be back at 2 a.m. tonight for After Dark Mark, the alternative, where I take the filters off, and you might say, oh, geez, you take the filters off then, what the hell? What's going on now? Well, we'll be talking about some things. Romance, another thing, you know. Some of these younger guys, I think the reason they turn gay is because they just don't want to go through the whole process of trying to find a woman. I may be off base, man, but let me tell you. When I was a young man, it took me quite a while to learn how to get a girlfriend, to have a girlfriend, to keep a girlfriend, and then get a woman to marry you, and to keep a marriage. It takes a while. It's not all laid out for you, you know, sort of like nature. But we'll talk about that. Talk about some other things on After Dark Mark tonight. I don't know what to tell you about the Islamification of America except to tell you to pray for it. And I guarantee you, if we had 100,000, 1 million people praying the Lord's Prayer at 2 o'clock, I'll bet you the angels would get a lot of power. Bet you some things would change. But then Muslims will do it now. Maybe they'll beat us. Maybe there'll be more Muslims praying to their Allah or whatever they got going on than there are Christians praying the Lord's Prayer. You know? Maybe that's what's going to happen. I don't know. Either way, I know I'm right. And I got the button. You can wear it on your chest with the Our Father. I got the other button that has the Pledge of Allegiance on it. You can get those buttons at the power station. Or you can let me know and I'll send you a button. If you want a button that says the Our Father, you can make a comment and I'll see that I send you one for free for watching the show, for being here. But hey, 3.29. I had to kill myself to do it too. You can see me in these videos, man. It's all I got. I'm pushing it to the end. So, but it's Friday, and let me see, it is 4:43. I'll see you at 2 a.m. if you're able to stay up that late, or if you're up and bored and you don't know what to do, you can come on to After Dark Mark on the Facebook page and After Dark Mark on the YouTube channel. And then maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll teach me something. You know, maybe you'll tell me something. That's what I'm looking for, somebody to help me out. So if we go, we got 2 minutes here. This is a song I wrote for Sarah Kay for a poem that she had. It's called From Serbia with Love. You can find it on my channel, The Mark Newhart Show, on YouTube. And then also you can read the book or have the book read to you. Certain parts, if you didn't get it, it's kind of technical. You can get back. I'm going to have some visuals in the background in the future one that I'm making, probably after this challenge is over. 9 more days. Every day. Day to Keith, Carly, Dave Dunlap, Dave Michaels, Ray White North. Hey to Susie Falcon. And who else out there? Yeah. All right.